Okay, I'm back. Uh, yeah, no excuses. Been inconsistent. Let's keep going. Left off where Walt and Lamb were just going back and forth, and Walt was trying to figure out the puzzles, trying to find if there's any way that he could help stop what's gonna be going on. And Lem was letting him know that there's nothing he could do, that everybody was going to be in danger of what was going to be happening. No one could do anything about it, you know? I know it's a little bit vague, but that's where I left off. You are expressly forbidden by law to continue. Ignoring him, Wall said, so I look up Banadine, see what kind of work they do, and I discover they're into genetic engineering, recombinant DNA. You're you're incorrigible. That's a new word, incorrigible. Incorrigible. What's that even mean? Not able to be corrected, improved, or reformed. Incorrigible. Incorrigible. There's no indication Banadine's at work on defense projects, but that doesn't mean anything. Could be blind contracts, projects so secret that the funding doesn't even appear on public record. Jesus, Lem said. Jesus, Lem said, irritate, irritably, irritably. Oh my gosh. So far. Irritably.
Irritably.
Ir-
In an irritable manner.
irritably.
I bark, irritably.
Irritably. Irritably.
Irritably.
Irritably. Ah, okay. Lem said irritably. Don't you understand how damn mean we can get when we got national security laws on our side? Just speculating now, Wall said. You speculate your honky ass right into a prison cell. Nah, Lemuel, now Lemuel, let's not have an ugly racial confrontation here. You're incorrigible. Yeah, and you're repeating yourself. Anyway, I did some heavy thinking, and I figured the murders of these people who work at Banodyne must be connected somehow to the manhunt the Marines conducted on Wednesday and Thursday, and to the murder of Wesley Dahlberg. There's no similarity between Dahlberg's murder and the others. Of course there's not. Wasn't the same killer. I can see that. Wasn't the same killer. I can see that. The Yarbicks, the Hustings, and Weatherby were hit by a pro, while poor Wes Dahlberg was torn to pieces. Still, there's a connection. By God, or you wouldn't be interested. And the connection must be Banodyne. The sun was sinking. Shadows pulled and thickened, Wall said. Here's what I figured. They were working on some new bug at Banodyne, a genetically altered germ, and it got loose, contaminated someone. But it didn't just make him sick. What it did was severely damage his brain, turn him into a savage or something. And updated Dr. Jekyll for the high-tech age. And updated Dr. Jekyll for the high-tech age? Lem interrupted sarcastically. So he slipped out of the lab before anyone knew what happened to him, fled into the foothills, came here, attacked Dahlberg. You watch a lot of horror. You watch a lot of bad horror movies or what? You watch a lot of bad horror movies or what? As for Yarbeck and the others, maybe they were eliminated because they knew what happened and were so scared about the consequences, consequences that they intended to go public. Off in the dusky canyon, a soft, utulant howl arose, probably just a coyote. Lem wanted to get out of there, away from the forest, but he felt that he had to deal with what gained, deflect the sheriff from these lines of inquiry and consideration. Let me get this straight, Walt. Are you saying the United States government had its own scientists killed to shut them up? Walt frowned, knowing how unlikely, if not downright impossible, his scenario was. Lem said, is life really just Ludlum novel? Killed our own people? Is it National Paranoia Month or something? Do you really believe that crap? No, Walt admitted. And how could Dahlberg's killer be a contaminated scientist with brain damage? I mean, Christ, you yourself said it was some animal that killed Dahlberg. Something with claws, sharp teeth. Okay. So I don't have it figured. Not all of it anyway. But I'm sure it's all tied in Banodyne somehow. I'm not entirely on the wrong track, am I? Yes, you are, Lem said. Entirely. Really? Really. Lem felt bad about lying to Walt and manipulating him, but he did it anyway. I shouldn't even tell you that you're chasing after false sport. But as a friend, I guess I owe you something. Additional wild voices had joined the eerie howling in the woods, confirming that the cries were only those of coyotes. Yet the sound chilled Lem Johnson and made him eager to depart. Rubbing the nape of his bull neck with one hand, Walt said, It doesn't have anything at all to do with Banodyne? Nothing. It's just a coincidence that Weatherby and Yarbeck both worked there, and that Huston used to work there. If you insist on making a connection, you just be spinning your wheels, which is fine by me. The sunset and in passing seemed to unlock a door through which a much cooler, brisker breeze swept into the darkening world. Still rubbing his neck, Walt said, Not Banodyne, huh? He sighed. I know you too well, buddy. You've got such a strong sense of duty that you lied to your own mother if that was in the best interest of the country. Lem said nothing. All right, Walt said. I'll drop it. Your case from here on. I'll drop it. Your case from here on. Unless some more people in my jurisdiction get killed. If that happens, well, I might try to take control of things again. Can't promise you that I won't. I've got a sense of duty too, you know. I know, Lem said, feeling guilty, feeling like a total shit. At last, they both headed back to the cabin. The sky, which was dark in the east, still streaked with deep orange and red and purple light in the west, seemed to be descending like the lid of a box. Coyotes howled. Something out in the night woods howled back at them. Cougar, Lem thought. But he knew that now he was even lying to himself. On Sunday, 2 days after their successful Friday lunch date, Travis and Nora drove to Solvang, a Danish-style village in the Santa Ynez Valley. It was a touristy place with hundreds of shops selling everything from exquisite Scandinavian crystal to plastic imitations of Danish beer stains. The Koontz architecture, though calculated, and the tree-lined streets enhanced the simple pleasures of window shopping. Several times, Travis felt the urge to take Nora's hand and hold it while they strolled. It seemed natural, right? Yet, he sensed that she might not be ready for even such harmless contact as hand-holding. She was wearing another drab dress, dual blue this time, nearly as shapeless as a sack. Sensible shoes. Her thick, dark hair was still hung limp and unstyled, as it had been when he'd first seen her. Being with her was pure pleasure. What's going on? Alright. Okay. So the roof, people are just trolling each other. It's awesome. She had a sweet temperament and was unfailingly sensitive and kind. Her innocence was refreshing. Her shyness and modesty, though excessive, endeared her to him. She viewed everything with a wide-eyed wonder that was charming, and he delighted in surprising her with simple things. A shop that sold only cuckoo clocks, another that sold only stuffed animals, a music box with the mother of pearl door that opened to reveal a parodic ballerina. He bought her a t-shirt with a personalized message that he would not let her see until he was ready. Nora loves Einstein, though she professed she could never wear a t-shirt that it wasn't her style. Travis knew she would wear it because she did indeed love the dog. Perhaps Einstein could not read the words in the shirt, but he seemed to understand what was meant. When they came out of the shop and unhooked his leash from the parking meter where they tethered him, Einstein regarded the message on the shirt solemnly while Nora held it up for his inspection, then happily licked and nuzzled her. The day held only one bad moment for them. As they turned the corner and approached another shop window, Nora stopped suddenly and looked around at the crowds on the sidewalks. People eating ice cream in big homemade waffle cookie cones. People eating apple tarts wrapped in wax paper. Guys in feather-decorated cowboy hats they bought in one of the stores. Pretty young girls in short shorts and halters. A very fat woman in a yellow muumuu. People speaking English and Spanish and Japanese and Vietnamese and all the other languages you could hear at any Southern California tourist spot. And then she looked along the busy street at a gift shop built in the form of a 3-story stone and timber windmill, and she stiffened, looked stricken. Travis had to guide her to a bench in a small park, where she sat trembling for a few minutes before she could even tell him what was wrong. overload, she said at last, her voice shaking. So many new sights, new sounds, so many different things all at once. I'm so sorry. It's alright. He said, touched. I'm used to a few rooms, familiar things. Are people staring? No one's noticed anything. There's nothing to stare at. She sat with her shoulders hunched, her head hung forward, her hands fisted in her lap, until Einstein put his head on her knees. As she petted the dog, she began gradually to relax. I was enjoying myself, she said to Travis, though she did not raise her head. Really enjoying myself, and I thought how far from home I was, how wonderfully far from home. Not really. Less than an hour's drive, he assured her. A long, long way, she said. Travis supposed that for her it was, in fact, a great distance. She said, and when I realized how far from home I was and how different everything was, I clenched up. I clenched up, afraid, like a child. Would you like to go back to Santa Barbara now? No, she said, meeting his eyes at last. She shook her head. She dared to look around at the people moving through the small park and at the gift shop, shaped like a windmill. No, I want to stay a while, all day. I want to have dinner in a restaurant here, not at a sidewalk cafe, but inside, like other people do, inside. And then I want to go home after dark. She blinked and repeated those two words wonderingly. After dark. Alright? Alright. Unless, of course, you hope to get back sooner. No, he said. I plan on making a day of it. This is very kind of you. Travis raised one eyebrow. What do you mean? You know, I'm afraid I don't. You know, I'm afraid I don't. Helping me step out into the world, she said. Giving up your time to help someone, like me. It's very generous of you. He was astonished. Nora, let me assure you, it's not charity work I'm involved in here. I'm sure a man like... Nora, let me assure you, it's not charity work I'm involved in here. I'm sure a man like you has better things to do with the Sunday afternoon in May. Oh yes, he said self-mockingly. I could have stayed home and given all my shoes meticulous shining with the toothbrush. Could have counted the number of pieces in a box of elbow macaroni. She stared at him in disbelief. By God, you're serious? By God. You're serious? You're serious, Travis said. By God, you're serious, Travis said. You think I'm here just because I've taken pity on you? You think I'm here just because I've taken pity on you? She bit her lip and said, it's all right. She looked down at the dog again. I don't mind. But I'm not here out of pity, for God's sake. I'm here because I like being with you. I really do. I like you very much. Even with her head lowered, the blush that crept into her cheeks was visible. For a while, neither of them spoke. Einstein looked up at her adoringly as she petted him, though once in a while he rolled his eyes at Travis as if to say, all right, you've opened the door of a relationship, so don't just sit there like a fool. Say something. Move forward. Win her over. She scratched the retriever's ears and stroked him for a couple of minutes, and then she said, I'm okay now. They left the little park and strolled past the shops again, and in a while, it was as if her moment of panic and his clumsy proclamation of affection had not happened. He felt as if he were courting a nun. Eventually, he realized that the situation was even worse than that. Since the death of his wife 3 years ago, he had been celibate. The whole subject of sexual relations seemed strange and new to him again. So it was almost as if he were a priest wooing a nun. Nearly every block had a bakery, and the wares in the display windows of each shop looked more delicious than what had been for sale in the previous place. The scent of cinnamon, powdered sugar, nutmeg, almonds, apples, and chocolate eddied in the warm spring air. Einstein stood on his hind feet at each bakery, paused on the windowsill, and stared longingly through the glass at the artfully arranged pastries. But he didn't go into any of the shops, and he never barked. When he begged for a treat, his soulful whining was discreetly low, so as not to bother the swarming tourists. His soulful whining was discreetly low so as not to bother the swarming tourists. Rewarded with a bit of pecan fudge and a small apple tart, he was satisfied and did not persist in begging. 10 minutes later, oh my gosh, I read that so awkward. Einstein stood on his stood on his hind feet at each bakery, paused on the windowsill, and stared longingly through the glass at the artfully arranged pastries. But he didn't go into any of the shops, and he never barked. When he begged for a treat, his soulful whining was discreetly low, so as not to bother the swarming tourists. Rewarded with a bit of pecan fudge and a small apple tart, he was satisfied and did not persist in begging. 10 minutes later, Einstein revealed his exceptional intelligence to Nora. He had been a good dog around her, affectionate and bright and well behaved, and he had shown considerable initiative in chasing and cornering Arthur Schreck. But he had not previously allowed her a glimpse of his uncanny intelligence, and when she witnessed it, she did not at first realize what she was seeing. They were passing the town pharmacy, which also sold newspapers and magazines, some of which were displayed outside in a rack near the entrance. Einstein surprised Nora with a sudden lurch toward the pharmacy, tearing his leash out of her hand. Before either Nora or Travis could regain control of him, Einstein used his teeth to pull a magazine from the rack and brought it to him, dropping it at Nora's feet. It was Modern Bride. As Travis grabbed for him, Einstein eluded capture and snatched up another copy of Modern Bride, which he deposited at Travis' feet just as Nora was picking up the copy to return it to the rack. "You silly pooch," she said. "What's gotten into you?" Taking out the leash, Travis stepped through the passers-by and put the second copy of the magazine back where the dog had gotten it. He thought he knew exactly what Einstein had in mind, but he said nothing, afraid of embarrassing Nora, and they resumed their walk. Einstein looked at everything, sniffing with interest at the people who passed, and he seemed immediately to have forgotten his enthusiasm for matrimonial publications. However, they had taken fewer than 20 steps when the dog abruptly turned and ran between Travis's legs, jerking the leash out of his hand and nearly knocking him down. Einstein went directly to the pharmacy, snatched a magazine out of the rack, and returned. Modern Bride. Nora still did not get it. She thought it was funny, and she stooped. To ruffle the retriever's coat. Is this your favorite reading material? You silly pooch. Read it every month. Read it every month, do you? You know, I'll bet you do. You strike me as a complete romantic. A couple of tourists had noticed the playful dog and were smiling. But they were even less likely than Nora to realize there was a complex intention behind the animal's game with the magazine. When Travis bent down to pick up the modern bride, intending to return to the pharmacy, Einstein got to it first, took it in his jaws, and shook his head violently for a moment. Bad dog, Nora said with evident surprise that Einstein had such a devilish streak in him. Einstein dropped the magazine. It was badly rumpled, and some of the pages were torn. And here and there, the paper was damp with saliva. I guess we'll have to buy now, Travis said. Panting, the retriever sat on the sidewalk, cocked his head, and grinned up at Travis. Nora remained innocently unaware that the dog was trying to tell them something. Of course, she had no reason to make a sophisticated interpretation of Einstein's behavior. She was unfamiliar with the degree of his genius and did not expect him to perform miracles of communication. Glaring at the dog, Travis said, "You stop it, Furface. No more of this. Understand me?" Einstein yawned. With the magazine paid for and tucked into a pharmacy bag, they resumed their tour of Solvang. But before they reached the end of the block, the dog began to elaborate on his message. He suddenly gripped Nora's hand gently but firm in his teeth and, to her startlement, pulled her along the sidewalk to an art gallery where a young man and woman were admiring the landscape paintings in the window. The couple had a baby in a stroller, and it was the child to whom Einstein was directing Nora's attention. He wouldn't let go of her hand until he had forced her to touch the pink outfitted infant's chubby arm. Embarrassed, Nora said. "He thinks your baby's exceptionally cute. Exceptionally cute. I guess, which she certainly is." The mother and father were wary of the dog at first, but quickly realized he was harmless. "How old's your little girl?" Nora asked. 10 months, the mother said. What's her name?" "Lana." "What's her name?" "Lana." "That's pretty." Finally, Einstein was willing to release Nora's hands. A few steps away from the young couple, in front of an antique shop that looked as if it had been transported brick by brick and timber by timber from 17th century Denmark, Travis stopped, crouched beside the dog, lifted one of its ears and said, "Enough. If you ever want your apple cut again, cut it out." Nora looked baffled. What's gotten into him? Einstein yawned, and Travis knew they were in trouble. In the next 10 minutes, the dog took hold of Nora's hand twice again and led her both times to babies. Modern bride and babies. The message was painfully clear now, even to Nora. You and Travis belong together. Get married, have babies, raise a family. What are you waiting for? She was blushing furiously and seemed unable to look directly at Travis. He was somewhat embarrassed too. At last, Einstein seemed satisfied that he had gotten his point across, and he stopped misbehaving. Until now, if asked, Travis would have said that a dog could not look smug. Later at dinner time, the day was pleasantly warm, and Nora changed her mind about eating inside. In an ordinary restaurant, she chose a place with sidewalk tables under red umbrellas that were, in turn, sheltered by boughs of giant oak. Travis sensed that she was not now intimidated by the prospect of a real restaurant experience, but wanted to eat in the open air so they could keep Einstein with them. Repeatedly throughout dinner, she looked at Einstein, sometimes glancing surreptitiously at him, sometimes studying him openly and intently. Travis made no reference to what had happened and pretended to have forgotten the whole affair. But when he had the dog's attention, and when Nora was not looking, he mouthed threats at the mutt. No more apple tarts. Choke, chain, muzzle, straight to the dog pound. Einstein took every threat with giant equanimity, either grinning or yawning or blowing air out his nostrils. All right, I'll end it right there. That was a good read. So a quick recap of what I read. Walt and Lem were still going back and forth. Lem was forbidding. Lem was telling Walt to knock it out, just end his search because it would the search and the investigation of Walt Darberg was national security problems now, and he was telling his friend that he should leave it alone, but Walt did not want to let it go because Walt was actually onto something. And I left off where Travis took Nora on another date, and Nora's just getting used to the outside world, and both of them are getting closer to each other, and Einstein is really, trying to get them together, and that worked out, but I'm excited to see the dynamic between Travis and Nora, but it's awesome to read. So yeah, that's my recap.